Right, let's get stuck in, shall we? Politics makes strange bedfellows, doesn't it? But this one may take the biscuit. President Donald Trump and New York's new far-left mayor-elect Zohran Mamdani, the man Trump once called a 100% communist lunatic, well, they went shoulder to shoulder in the Oval Office today. They were smiling, they were nodding and praising each other like best buddies at a wedding.
This important interruption is brought to you by ExpressVPN. Protect your money and your identity. Click the link in the description or scan the QR code here to get ExpressVPN right now and save up to 73% on annual plans today. Right, let's get back into it.
That I feel very confident that he can do a very good job. I think he is going to surprise some conservative people, actually, and some very liberal people. He won't surprise them because they already like him. We're working with Lebanon. We're working with everybody in the Middle East. That's another thing I think we have in common. We want to see peace in the Middle East, and we actually have now, for the first time, peace in the Middle East after 3,000 years. And now we're going to refine it, and I think you're going to see some very positive things happen.
So, all very nice and civil, of course, but yes, he's talking about this Zohran Mamdani.
New York will remain a city of immigrants, a city built by immigrants, powered by immigrants, and as of tonight, led by an immigrant.
Well, he was very keen to run his mouth then, wasn't he? But today, I guess he seems to have lost his bottle a little bit. But whilst the meeting may have appeared quite cordial on the surface, the barbs the pair have previously traded weren't forgotten.
He asked about your comment calling the president a fascist, and your answer was, both President Trump and I have been clear about our positions and our views. Mm-hmm. Are you affirming that you think President Trump is a fascist?
I've spoken about...
That's okay. You can just say
okay.
Yes. Okay. It's easier. It's easier than explaining it. I don't mind.
Joining me in the studio in Washington, D.C. is one man who's very familiar with President Trump. It's his trusted former senior advisor, Jason Miller. Jason, good evening. Thank you for your company. I watched that exchange today in the Oval Office, and I thought, as we say in Britain, you may be familiar with this phrase, Billy Big Balls, we'll say, seemed to have lost his bark. He was tamed by President Trump.
So this was an absolute masterclass from President Trump, because the entire media corps thought that the president was going to go in there and have this Royal Rumble, as you said, the UFC precursor in advance of the actual fight next year. But what President Trump did was completely co-opted Zohran Mamdani and basically made him stand there for this entire press conference, and what with the charm offensive, showing that he's the one that can actually unite people in the United States, that he's the one that can bring people together. And Mamdani, who, as you said a week ago, was hurling all sorts of negatives and expletives and terrible things at the president, had to stand there with a smile on his face. So this is where President Trump will zig when everyone else is saying or expecting him to zag, and it shows just why he's a political genius.
Every time you're online, your money and your identity are at risk. Scams now make up nearly 40% of all crime in the UK. That's thousands of attacks every single day. In Britain, someone has their identity stolen every 2 minutes, leaving victims with wrecked finances and years of stress. The threat is real, and you could be next. ExpressVPN is your shield against criminals. It locks down your devices, hiding your personal information and financial details from hackers, scammers, and anyone else looking to exploit you. So whether you're checking your bank, shopping, or just browsing, ExpressVPN makes you invisible to prying eyes trying to steal your money and your identity. ExpressVPN shields your data with military-grade AES 256 encryption. That's the same standard trusted by the US government to guard classified information. This is the highest level of online security you can get. So don't wait for disaster. Secure up to 14 devices at once and get powerful password protection. Real support is available 24/7 because cybercrime never sleeps. Save up to 73% on annual plans today. Every moment you hesitate is another moment you're exposed. Protect your money and protect your identity. Get ExpressVPN right now.
Is it fair to say that it's a great move by President Trump, but does it come off the back and the fact that Mamdani doesn't pose a direct threat to President Trump? He can never be president, right?
Well, right, but so here's the thing that President Trump does, and the way that his political mind works is so fascinating, because what he knew that the media wanted to set up Mamdani as the ultimate foil. Democrats really don't have anyone who's the main foil to President Trump right now. It's not AOC, it's not Bernie Sanders, not Elizabeth Warren, it's not any of these governors, even Gavin Newsom, but they wanted to make Zohran Mamdani really the ultimate leftist, the one who would be the burr under his saddle, the one who'd get on his frustrated and get on his nerves. But what the president did is really spun that around and so no, actually I'm the one who's going to run the show, reminds people that he's the president. Mamdani looked small literally and figuratively next to him.
And I guess if President Trump is sat there saying, yeah, I want you to do well, I love New York, I'm backing you, I think you can do a great job, the pressure is all on Mamdani, and if he fails, which many people think he will because communism never works, you just run out of people's money and people get very envious, they can't say, well, President Trump didn't help. President Trump wanted this to happen.
So, excellent point, because what President Trump is also doing is he likes to start off the relationship on great terms. So he can say he was over the top nice, he was gracious, he did everything that he could to help Zohran Mamdani. And then if Mamdani, I shouldn't say if, when he does his crazy policy moves, then it'll all come collapsing and President Trump can say, I told you so. But here's the one thing that I do think is important for people to realize. President Trump is a New Yorker. He loves New York City. And I remember sitting with him once. We were in his office after he'd left after his first term, his office in Trump Tower on Fifth Avenue. And he looked out the window over Central Park and he remarked, this is the center of the universe. This was after he had been president of the United States. He's looking at Central Park and he views New York as really the center of the universe. So for him, New York is home. He cares about it. He wants to see the city do well. He knows that Mamdani is going right off the edge of the cliff with his policies, but he's going to do what he can to save it.
Come on then, Jason. Enlighten our British viewers who are up tonight who don't know much about this guy, Zohran Mamdani. He's been compared to the likes of Sadiq Khan in London, but I think Mamdani is probably more left than Sadiq Khan. Just tell us some of the policies that he's advocating.
Well, first of all, he wants to have all government-run grocery stores or supermarkets, and of course, what could ever go wrong with government-run grocery stores? Just ask the Venezuelans or the Russians, or like back in the Soviet Union. He also wants to make sure that everybody has a free home, which it sounds great. I like
free home.
Everyone should have a free home, or a free apartment, or a free place to stay. Well, again, that sounds great, but it's not realistic. I mean, we all want sunshine and puppies and free money and all sorts of things like that. And so, all of the policies that he's pushing are really these super crazed leftist positions. He doesn't want the federal government to enforce any of the immigration laws, which obviously you saw firsthand when you were with ICE just the other day. And so Mamdani's policies are really out there. And of course, to pay for everything, of course, if you're going to give everything away for free, someone has to pay. So that means taxes are invariably going to go up, which is going to further drive people out of New York City, which then hurts the overall tax base, makes it just a complete mess. Here's the thing, though, for people to realize. Mamdani, yes, I'll go and dunk on him because he's a leftist nutcase. He's a very good politician. He's very good. He's very well spoken. He knows how to package things up and come across as much more normal than he actually is. So he's a little dangerous because he is good as a political figure. Well,
that's half the job done, right? I argue as a politician, if you can speak well and you can deliver some words without umming and ahhing and you look good, I mean, that's 50% of the job. President Trump has gone on the record and said, Mamdani doesn't look that good, his voice is grating, so on and so on. But is it true that there were some source quotes from the White House some weeks ago saying that President Trump actually thinks he's a pretty slick politician, he talks well, he's got good delivery, and he semi-respects him, not the politics, but just him as an operator?
Yeah, no, he definitely, I mean, the fact that Mamdani came out of effectively nowhere, and he was in the state assembly, and he won that race against some people who had a lot more money. Mamdani did not have a lot, but he had shoe leather. He really showed that he could energize the Democrat base, or I guess Democrat socialist base, whatever they're calling themselves these days. But he really gave a lot of excitement. There is one other important thing I'd point out, is that when you look at why Mamdani was so successful, it's, keep in mind, politics isn't necessarily a spectrum like this. Sometimes it goes around, and do we want conservative populism, or do they want the socialist populism? Obviously, Mamdani is coming with the socialist populism. A lot of people are frustrated. A lot of people see the divide between the haves and the have-nots growing. He says he's going to give it all away for free, whereas President Trump says we're going to give everyone the opportunity to earn it themselves. Big distinction, but people, a lot of young people locked in on what Mandani was saying.
Yeah, indeed. And I guess you can't blame young people, when they're, same as the UK, when they're struggling struggling to get homes. They don't want to start families because they haven't got homes and so on. You can see the allure. I guess the one thing they both have in common is that they are anti-establishment. They're both issuing rallying cries against the status quo, right?
Well, and that's another good observation, because you look at some of the things that they talked about. Con Edison, which is the power company. Well, nobody likes the power company. Of course, they're always going to be frustrated with rates, and we have a bit of an energy issue going on here in many places in the United States.
I prefer your energy bills in the UK. Let me tell you that, having been here since September.
Well, especially years ago with all the net zero, the eco nonsense. That's a whole other story. But when you look at some of these kind of nameless, faceless entities, you think about, say, Wall Street. You think about insurance companies. Some of these things where they're easy to beat up on, they're easy targets. Well, Mamdani is very good at that, and President Trump has also taken some of those guys to the woodshed as well.
Great. Okay, I think we've got one more clip, then I'll let you go to enjoy your evening, Jason. This is the moment, I think it was Rob Crilly from the Daily Telegraph, good friend of the show. He asked President Trump about our dear Prime Minister, Keir Starmer.
Last week, you told me you were breathing ahead with your plans to sue BBC for $5 billion. You're going to speak to Prime Minister Starmer as well. Is there any progress or any updates with raise issue?
Well, we get along very well with the Prime Minister. We made a deal with UK. I like him. He's a fine person. And, you know, I think they have some big energy problems. You know, they've got windmills all over the place. They're going to have to start using other methods because their energy is out of control. Talking about in the UK, it's out of control. And he's got that problem. He's got a big immigration problem, as you know, and he's got a big energy problem. And we talk about it. He's a good man. Prime Minister's a good man.
Hand sharp speed this week.
I haven't spoken this week.
President Trump clearly has lots of respect for Keir Starmer, doesn't he? And I've noticed really since January, since he took power, he doesn't really want to get involved in direct attacks on not just Keir Starmer, but any other leading politician. He will say Europe has a migration problem, but without wanting to really get involved in attacking anyone individually.
Well, part of that is, keep in mind, the UK was the first country to get a trade deal done with the United States, and so President Trump isn't going to try to snatch defeat from the jaws of victory on that. Now, he's also been very clear where he disagrees on things such as the windmills or the net zero policies, and obviously the mass migration, the boat crisis. But you can do that without necessarily engaging or attacking Starmer. And look, Starmer has all sorts of problems on his own. President Trump is a voracious consumer of news. He sees what the poll numbers are.
Does he really? He watches a lot of news.
He sees more news than anybody, I think, on the planet. He doesn't need to go and point out the fact that Starmer is failing in the polls, because everyone knows Starmer is failing in the polls. I mean, his own base is deserting him. Who knows how long he'll be PM, but again, that's for the UK to decide. So the president knows that. So he can point things out, but we have a very special relationship with the UK, and it's much better to have the US and UK aligned. We'll let folks in the UK deal with Starmer's political future.
Good. I'm glad you guys still feel like that about the UK, because of course, you need us, we need you, and let's keep that special relationship going. And it is true, of course, President Starmer, he wishes, Prime Minister Keir Starmer is stumbling in the polls, and if you stick around on the Late Show Live, you'll see the moment he stumbled today at the G20. Poor so-and-so, but yeah, it was an embarrassing moment. And by the way, the more interesting issue about him stumbling was Downing Street were telling reporters on the ground, please don't play that clip. Take the clip offline, which I thought was a bit North Korea-esque, but we'll get stuck into that. Jason Miller, thank you so much. Appreciate your company tonight. We'll catch up soon.